my top. I have it on. Want to see it? I did it. I have to say, it was pretty easy. If you could make a granny square, you can make this. It's a pattern by Doris Chan called something like Copper Bronze Beauty or something like that. She made it in a long sleeve. I chose to make it in a short sleeve. And yeah, it was very simple. The only problem was under the arms, it was a connecting question I had about the pattern, but it worked out and it turned out the same on both sides, so it's pretty easy. Now this was done with peaches and cream, and I did wash it and dry it, and my gauge was pretty true to the gauge that was given, so I tried to keep that in mind. I wish I'd made the sleeves just a touch longer, because I have broad shoulders, or I don't know what I have, because actually when my shoulder seams on t-shirts are right, then the shirt is always a little bit short sleeves, so I guess I have kind of big arms. But anyway, to make a long story short, I could have had sleeves of my custom length if I wanted to, but it did shrink up a bit, so you know, keep that in mind if you make it out of cotton. But it's very comfortable and I like it. Now, it has been 2 weeks, because I told you I was out of town on my girls' trip last week, and I got absolutely nothing done. I did bring some projects, but I did none of it, which, you know, is kind of par for the course. So, I did get some stuff done over that 2-week period, and besides my top, so I'll show you what I made. This is called the Novi Hat, and you can wear it like this, which is a fedora style, or you can roll this up and it's like a bowler style. And the pattern was a little tricky for me. Well, first look at the stitches. Isn't that a neat stitch? All it is single crochet, chain one, single crochet, chain one, and it's that's simple enough. But the pattern, every time I would get to the end and would count, my stitch count would be wrong. So I don't know what that problem was, but it did give me headaches, and it was also too big. Now the key to this hat is that you want it to be stiff. You don't want to use a soft yarn like Caron Simply Soft or something like that. You really want it to hold its shape. And so I read in the reviews on Ravelry where some people had taken 2 strands and held it together. I still used the recommended hook size, which was 5.5 millimeter, and it did affect the sizing, so it came out too big. So, too big for me. But most of what I do I give away anyway, so this will be fine because it'll fit on somebody else, and that's good. But I just wanted to make something different, and I really liked this hat, and it did come out nice and stiff, so that's good. If I make it again, I'll know to not increase quite as much, and I'll bring up my band a little bit higher, because when you roll it, it completely disappears. So, but again, not a complicated stitch, but I had difficulty staying on track with the pattern. You might notice that I'm in a different place. I'm actually outside in the front of my house. I got a house full of boys right now having a pool tournament, and they're making way too much noise, and we have a very open plan, so it's like wherever you go you can still hear them, and they got the music going, and so I had to come outside in the front because they're on the back of the house and you could hear them if I was on the back porch. So that's why the different location. Mystery game. What the heck is this? It's my attempt at increasing this. This is a precious little Cupcake Cap made for a baby, like 3 to 6 months, from the Repeat Crafter Me. If you haven't seen her site, you need to go look. She's got precious patterns, most of which are free. Actually, they may all be free. But I need to put the sprinkles, which are different colors, of yarn on the outside of this, but I thought it was so cute. So I said, oh, well, I'm just going to increase it and make a larger one, so like be like a brother-sister, I mean a big sister, little sister thing, or whatever. And it just didn't come out. I increased the width, but I should have increased another round down here. And So we have a cupcake and a pancake. Now in the world of knitting, I saw where Emily, who was Crochet Forever 1 and is now crochet.knit, if I'm not mistaken, had done this really neat hat, something about a beehive. I'll put the exact link and name in the description box. And I thought, oh, that would be a great way for me to practice, you know, rows of knitting and purling. And I'll have to say I did an okay job on this. But it's too big for me. It is a slouchy hat, and it's too big for me, even though I did a gauge swatch. So, but it's just, you know, like a good wind had come by and it'd just blow it right off my head. So obviously this isn't going to do for me. So I thought I would make a matching scarf, and I'm going to ask Yolanda Soto Lopez if anybody, you know, large, if she could be using this size before I send it to her. But I haven't forgotten that charity. She does that for the orphanages every year, and I am trying to make sets of hats and scarves along the way. So when time comes, I'll have a decent amount to send her. But I was thinking of making a scarf out of, well, I am making a scarf out of this, which is a Caron 1 pound. Now, I just didn't feel like hand knitting all that. So I knew that Caron 1 pound does not work well on my Addy machines. But I said I'm going to try it anyway. And I found a method that I can use to get it done. It takes a lot longer. You can't just crank like you normally do. It's a matter of using your left hand to kind of push the stitches down before they make it to the knitting area. And I did film that tip, but I'm not going to include it in this video since we're not all interested in the Addy. But I did manage to get it done with the Caron 1 pound on my Addy Express king size. So what I'm going to do though to make it matching is hand knit the beehive look that matches the hat on each of the ends. I'm going to probably put about 3 of these sets of knits, purls, just to make it look like it's supposed to be together. But the problem is that the needles that I have were too small. The gauge, my gauge with a 5.5 millimeter was just a little tighter than this was. So I decided to order some, but I'll tell you why in just a minute. Can you notice something different about the color changes on here? It's straight. They're not jagged. I learned a new technique, found it on Pinterest, and I thought I'd give it a try, and I really like it. Now I did make a mistake. Let's see where I did. Right here. This is what normal color changes look like. Can you see the jagged where it jumps up? And you'll see with this technique, it's 2 lines. Looks like 2 slip stitches, but it's actually 1 row of slip stitches. And or is it? Oh, it is back loop only. So it ends up giving you 2 lines between each, making really straight stripes, which I thought was kind of cool. So I'll put a link to that tutorial. It's just a blog, it's not a video, so just a pictorial tutorial, so to speak, to let you know how to do that. But I just thought that was really neat. Now I tried to crochet a scarf with it, but it doesn't work because, well, I ripped it out, but you know, you're going back and forth, and so it just didn't look right. You end up seeing this on the other side. So I'll probably do a knitted scarf to match it on the Addy or something like that and see how I like the 2 mediums together. Okay, I had to come inside, so you can hear noise in the background, and I'm sorry. I closed myself off in this room, but you're still going to hear them. Okay, so anyway, it started to rain. I told you I took a Craftsy class, or signed up for one, and I was waiting on my materials to come in. I had the yarn, however. I don't know when I bought this, but it's the Beehive Peyton's Beehive Baby Yarn. Baby Chunky. And I love it. It's an acrylic nylon blend. And whenever you put nylon with anything, it just softens it up. So this is a wonderful yarn. And had a great experience using my new bamboo circular sets that I got really cheap off of Amazon. And I think that was last week's video. I have the exact name of what they are if you want to get yourself some. However, when I put this Karen 1 pound on these wooden things, I did not have the same experience. It was awful. And I was not knitting too tightly. I kept checking to see, but yet I couldn't move it. And I think it has something to do with this. We have a fight, just a moment. Okay, crisis averted. Where was I? Okay, now they're playing hide and seek and...
I see you!
Alright, so anyway, okay, I'm going to try this again. With all these boys. And this Karen 1 pound and my wooden needles here did not like each other. It didn't want to slide around. And I kept checking. So am I knitting too tightly? No, I was clearly not. It actually would slide pretty well right here. It gets hung up here. Not because this is not smooth. It's because of the material that this is made of. It feels very similar to the IV line in a hospital. You know, the IV bag comes down and then they stick the needle in your arm or whatever. That's what this feels like. Very well could be. And this was not sliding well on this at all. It's very annoying. You could do like 3 stitches and push and I don't know. I just got frustrated. And I almost gave up on this. But then I remembered that I had these, which were recommended to me by Erin and Bruno. And what they are Knit Picks Options nickel plated. And they just happen to be a 5.5 millimeter, which is what I was using. So I switched. Now I know that you're really not supposed to switch needles in the middle of a project because even if it says 5.5 millimeter, there could be a difference and yeah, but you know it doesn't matter at this stage in the game. Not for me. It's 24 inches too, so I thought, oh well, at least I'll do the magic loop method if I need to. Even my editing had interruptions, so now I'm about to talk about that Craftsy class that I mentioned earlier. It was my first chance I got to use my new bamboo circulars, and it was a dream. They were smooth and everything was great, and I just loved it. Until, of course, I got to the double pointed needle part. Now this is where you do the decreases. And you can see that I didn't do so well. Now the deal was you're supposed to decrease a row, then knit a row, decrease the knit, and then you come on up here and do the decrease every row. And what? Well, I got off and I ended up not doing it in order. I don't know what I did, but I'm not pleased with it. So that's why you still see the double pointed needle up here, in that I'm going to save this yarn that I fell in love with and try again because I wouldn't want to give this away to anyone. I'm just not pleased with that. But it has this little ridge here to keep it from rolling all the way up, and this was what did she call it? Jogless join here, so that you know how you do one row, you come around and you're on the next row by the time you make it back around, and so it would look like it was, you know, not meeting. And so she taught how to do that, and that was pretty handy dandy. So anyhow, to make a long story short, I'm pleased with the class, not pleased with my first attempt. I'm going to rip this out and I'm going to try again. Oh, and I was very pleased with these purchases, so that was good. I was putting this away and I don't think I ever showed you the finished product. You might remember this hat that I did. This is a set I did for Yolanda Soto Lopez in the orphanage. And I put palms on the top and I finished them on the bottom. At the time, I had done too many rows on one of these. The white here I had to rip back and all that. So I remember telling you that I was going to put the palms on the bottom, and I just don't believe I ever showed them to you. So all I did was use scrap yarn to complete it. Now the white was not scrap yarn. The problem of using all your scraps up is that you eventually get to where you don't have enough for one major project. So as I use the rest of my scraps up, I'll probably be doing things like this. But I thought it came out pretty cute. Free yarn. Well, not exactly. It's found yarn from old projects. This was just some Red Heart Sport that I had done on a loom, and one of the Nifty Knitter looms, and the gauge is really too big for that, but I have a little bit of this left upstairs too, so I think I'm going to redo this on the AliExpress and do a hat to match too, and that can go to Yolanda's kids. This is cotton bamboo, and it's one of the first projects I ever did. It's just double crochet back and forth, and it feels wonderful. The yarn is wonderful, but it was before I learned. Can you see? It's actually doubled right now, but can you see how it kind of curves? I can't even pull it right. This, you're supposed to always do your chain, your base chain, very loosely, and I am just incapable of doing that even to this day. So what I do is go up 2 hook sizes for my base chain, or I just do a double crochet base now, but back then I didn't know. So it's curved and I don't like it, and it's wonderful yarn. I also don't like the crochet and the pooling the way it is, so I may do something with this in knitting, but it's kind of like having free yarn. Alright, after about 400 interruptions for filming this video, I hope I got out everything that I was trying to say, and I will speak with y'all next week. Bye. Now that my house is quiet, I probably should redo this whole video.